It's a beautiful shot of the sun coming up over the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco at 6:39 in the morning, 9:39 here on the East Coast as we fast approach one of the most consequential elections in American history. The political divide is wide, with both sides of the aisle believing a win for their opponent could doom the country. But the dean of Berkeley Law School argues it's not just politics, but America's founding document, the Constitution, that needs a bit of an overhaul. Joining us now is Dean Erwin Chemerinsky. His new book is titled No Democracy Lasts Forever: How the Constitution Threatens the United States. Dean Chemerinsky, thanks for being with us this morning. So how, in your view, does the Constitution that this country was built on and has been for nearly 250 years is a threat, actually, to the country?
Choices that were made in adopting the Constitution have come to haunt us. The Electoral College increasingly is choosing the president who lost the popular vote. 2 senators per state is undermining democracy. In the last session of Congress, there were 50 Democratic senators and 50 Republican senators, but the 50 Democratic senators represented 42 million people. Life tenure for Supreme Court justices is increasingly problematic. For much of American history, the tenure for Supreme Court justice was an average of 15 years. Since 1970, it's been 27 years. All of these are choices made in 1787, but they've become much more salient in recent years.
Professor Chemerinsky, I understand, this is Gene Robinson, I understand that there are lots of outdated pieces of the Constitution. There's also some really good stuff. I think it is probably true that the founders would be astonished that we haven't altered the Constitution to fit our present circumstances. On the other hand, though, in the real world, wouldn't it be madness to try to change the Constitution at this point when the country is so polarized, so angry, and so unable to agree on anything? All those foundational principles, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom, our freedoms, would be in jeopardy, it seems to me.
You're right. The country is deeply polarized, and that in itself is a threat to democracy. Our government has lost the confidence of the people. In 1964, in a Pew Research survey, 77% of the people expressed confidence in government. Last October, it was 20%. In the book, I argue that much that's wrong with the government can be fixed by statute, but also be fixed by constitutional amendment. And I say, rather than a series of constitutional amendments, isn't it time to start thinking of a new constitution? Isn't it absurd that we're governed in 2024 by a constitution written in 1787 for small agrarian slave-owning society? Yes, you're right, of course. There's much in the current Constitution to keep. And you're right that the country is divided now, which make a new Constitution difficult. But the Constitution was adopted in 1787 when the country was deeply divided. In many states, it was passed by only a few votes. I'm not saying there'll be a constitutional convention tomorrow or next year, but I do think it's time to begin thinking of a constitution for the 21st century rather than being governed under one from the 18th century.
Dean Chem, this is Eddie Glaude. Great to see you this morning. So you're right. The tragic choices that inform the founding document, the compromises that in some ways constitute the through line of our history. I mean, you charted really, really powerfully in the book. But there's this moment that I came across, and I just started, but it struck me, and this is about the threat of secession, that if we choose not to do anything, if we fail at the amendment process, if we fail at kind of thinking about this document in this holistic sense as you commend, there is the real threat of secession. Talk a little bit about that consequence as you see it.
What happens if we do nothing? We can continue to muddle along, but I worry about how long a government can survive where it's lost the confidence of the people, or how long a government survives when society is so deeply polarized. We could drift towards authoritarianism. There are a lot of democracies in the world that are no longer democracies. But there's also the possibility that we will start hearing serious talk that what divides us is much greater than what unites us as a country. And so I think we have to think of the abyss. I am not arguing for secession. I'm not saying it's likely in the foreseeable future, but it's certainly a path that could happen if we don't repair what's wrong in the American government.
The new book is called No Democracy Lasts Forever, How the Constitution Threatens the United States. It is on sale now. The Dean of Berkeley Law School, Erwin Chemerinsky. Dean Chemerinsky, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.